my name is Tori Cash, and this week's lesson is on vocabulary. This week we are going to our objective is to determine or clarify the meaning of unknown multiple meaning words and phrases based on grade 1 reading and content, choosing flexibility from an array of strategies. This week we are going to read Fancy Nancy at the Museum. Because it's at a museum, I want to know what the students know about the museum. So I'm going to ask them, what is a museum? And we're going to look for the meaning, a building where objects are displayed. Most likely the students are all going to know what a museum is, but they may have not visited one. So then I want to know how many of them have visited. So I'm going to ask the question, how many of you have been to a museum? Several of the students are going to raise their hands, and I'm going to ask them questions about where they went, when they went, and for our third question for the review, I'm going to say, what are some things we might see at a museum? So the ones that have been to a museum, they can kind of share what they've seen. And the ones that haven't been to a museum, they can kind of guess, sculptures, paintings, stuff like that. So, the purpose of this lesson is to help students understand the meaning of vocabulary words. Last week learned about folklore books. This week, of course, we're going to successfully identify each word and its definition. And for the future, next week, the students will probably read another book, maybe another Fancy Nancy book, because she has several books that are these I can read. And we're going to learn 5 new vocabulary words, doing the same strategies, identifying the word and its meaning. For our objective, the learner will be able to identify each of the 5 words and its definition. This week, of course, we're going to read Fancy Nancy at the Museum. So for the first day, I would read it to the students. Maybe the second day, let them read it. And then the third day, I have a video on YouTube I found that reads the book to them. Alright, so, Fancy Nancy at the Museum. Ooh la la, I am overjoyed. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to say, what do you think overjoyed means? Because we want to see if they know what the word means. And then I'm going to say, that's a fancy word for very happy. Our class is going to a museum. So we're going to stop on every vocabulary word and try to see what the students know. I look extra fancy. So does Miss Glass. I love your shirt, I tell her. Miss Glass tells us, today we will see masterpieces. That's a fancy word for great paintings. The bus ride is very bumpy. Bump, bump, bump. Bree is my bus buddy. My tummy feels funny, she tells me. Bump, bump, bump. We stop for lunch. Bree is not hungry, but I am. I eat my lunch. I eat her lunch too. I have 2 eggs, a juice box, carrot sticks, an apple, and a big cookie. Merci, I say. That's a fancy French word for thank you. Now we are back on the bus. Bump, bump, bump. We will be there soon, says Miss Glass. I hope so. My tummy's feeling funny now. Very funny. Maybe 2 lunches was 1 lunch too many. Miss Glass, I cry. I'm going to be sick. Stop the bus, Miss Glass cries. The bus stops. Miss Glass takes me to the side of the road. I get sick. I drink some water, I suck on a mint, and my tummy feels better. But I'm not overjoyed anymore. I am all dirty. I want to look extra fancy today, I said sadly. I understand, Miss Glass says, and I have an idea. We get to the museum? Come with me, says Miss Glass. I come out. Miss Glass' idea was spectacular. That's a fancy word for great. Lucky you, says Bree. I wish I got to wear her shirt and hat. It's a French hat, I tell her. It's a beret. A man from the museum takes us to a gallery. So I stop then, because that's our second vocabulary word, and I say, what do you think a gallery might be at a museum? And several students are going to answer, and I'm going to keep going on the story and say, that's a fancy museum word for room. I love all the paintings, the masterpieces most of all. We see paintings of trees and lakes. They are called landscapes. So I stop there because that's our third vocabulary word. And the students are going to say, I'm going to ask the students, what do you think landscape means? And they could probably guess because of the context clues of the story. And then I'm going to continue on so we can get to our fourth and fifth vocabulary words. We see paintings of flowers and bowls of fruit, and they are all still live. Lots. The last painting is a picture of a lady. A painting of a person is called a portrait. So I stop there because that is our fourth vocabulary word. Portrait, I would ask the students, what do you think portrait means? And they could probably guess because it said in the previous sentence, a painting of a person. And then I'm going to continue reading, so I'm probably reread that page. So, the last painting is a picture of a lady. A painting of a person is called a portrait, the man tells us. I like her hat and her fan and her beads, I tell the man. They are lavender. Lavender's my favorite color. That's a fancy word for light purple. The man smiles. You're a very observant girl. Then Miss Glass tells us observant means noticing things. Nancy is very observant indeed. And then I would ask the students, what do you think observant means? And Miss Glass told us what it meant. It meant noticing things. And then I would ask students, what do you think Fancy Nancy is very observant like Miss Glass said? And of course, they're going to have their opinions. And then I'm going to ask them, well, do you think you're observant? On the bus trip back, I do not feel sick. I feel almost overjoyed. Now, my students, what do you remember what overjoyed meant? That night, I make a painting for Miss Glass because she is so nice. It is not a masterpiece, but someday I will paint her one. And that's the end of our story. So then we would go on to our first activity, which is Find Your Match. The teacher will hand out index cards to each student. On each card is a vocabulary word or a definition to one of the words. Some students will have the same word and some definitions, and the same definition since we only have 5 vocabulary words. The learner will then walk around trying to find the match to their index card. This activity will be repeated several times, making sure the students each get a turn. Each get all 5 vocabulary words. So I would pass out, they would get one side and it says overjoyed, and it don't have anything on the back. That's the key. They have to go around the room and find somebody that has the meaning of overjoyed. And overjoyed means, overjoyed means very happy, not noticing things, sorry. So then that would be a match. And then we would continue the activity. A gallery is a room in a museum. Landscape is a painting of nature. And then a portrait is a painting of a person. And observant means noticing things. So they would, walk around the room and find their partner. So they're going to have to figure out what the word means. and then find their partner. After this activity, we will move on to the vocabulary templates. The vocabulary template is, so I would give them a list of the words. Well, I have the 5 words written on the board, so they can just use the 5 words on the board, and I'll pass out, they'll get in groups of 5, so 5 pages to each group, 1 page for each vocabulary word. And the students will work in their group defining each word, so they'll have to write overjoyed, its definition. They'll have to use it in a sentence and draw a picture of what they think overjoyed means. Each student will write their name on the top of the paper, and they'll turn in all 5 pages as a group. For our closure, I will review each vocabulary word using the same index cards. So I'll use these index cards again. So I may show them what is very happy. So I'll put this under the Elmo, and I'll say what vocabulary means very happy. And they would say overjoyed. Or I could put overjoyed on the Elmo and say, what does overjoyed mean? And then they would have to tell me very happy. Repeating this with all 5 words. Then I would ask some questions. What word means, which vocabulary means that we are very happy? So the students would answer overjoyed. What is a room in a museum called? And the students would answer gallery. And then I would say, name something we saw today. So they could say a portrait or landscape. And then I would, for their homework, I would put this in their take-home folder. And it has the directions. And the directions are draw a line from the vocabulary word to its meaning. So they have to find overjoy, and they would draw it to number 5. Because overjoy means very happy. And then bring this back the next day. For our early finishers, they will reread Fancy Nancy using the link I provided for YouTube. So they'll go to the computer, and they can have their own book. So they can have their book, and as the computer reads, the YouTube video reads it, they can follow along, or they can just read it to themselves, whichever they would like to do. And then they have to draw something that Fancy Nancy saw at the museum. So they could draw a picture of, let's go back to our story and look and see what they could draw. So they could draw a painting. Yeah, it don't have to be exact, as long as they understand the painting. Or some may want to draw the woman, or they may want to draw Fancy Nancy. But as long as they are drawing something that has to do with the story. And then our special needs, the student will listen to the story again on their own during center time on the computer. I will provide them their copy of the book, so if they want to follow along with the book, they can. When they hear a vocabulary word, they can pause the tape, and they will use this worksheet, and they'll write down what it means. And in the book, it had the meaning of every word, so they shouldn't have a problem doing this. And that'll be for our ELL learners and our special needs. For our remediation, the student will also listen to a story again on their own during center time on the computer. When they hear a word, they can pause the tape and then write the sentence and it was used. So they can do the same thing here. For our enrichment, the learner will get the It Means What activity worksheet and use a dictionary and define all the vocabulary words, part of speech, synonym, antonym, and write their own sentence for each word. So now we're trying to make them understand the word. So if they remember what it means from the earlier activities, they can do that, or they can get a dictionary. The dictionary will tell them the part of speech, and they may need some help with some synonyms and antonyms, but they should be able to do all of this. And that is my lesson. Thank you.